I'm live. So I want to talk about several things that have crossed my computer screen recently in relation to dietary supplements. And I'll cover a few things that are not technically dietary supplements. For example, here's an article that comes from Medscape. And it is basically titled "The End of Compounded GLPs: What Physicians Need to Know." So it starts off by saying for the last 2 years, compounded pharmacies have created versions of GLP-1 peptide medications like Ozempic, and nearly 137 million Americans are eligible to be using these things. That's more than half of the adult population. Now, there was a shortage of these GLP-1 medications because most people taking them did not have diabetes, and so they were basically taking them for weight loss, which created a shortage. So the compounding pharmacies kicked in, and they started making themselves. Problem is that now the FDA has declared that the shortages are over. The party's over, guys, which means that compounding pharmacies technically are not going to be allowed to be making GLP-1 medications like Ozempic anymore, at least in theory. So what does this mean for companies like Hims and Hers, which are all over the airwaves these days in the United States, talking about these things? And just as a side note, I got to tell you, I have seen the original, or these, I should say, the most recent Hims commercial featuring a bunch of women. I think it's awful. I think it's one of the worst commercials for a medication that I have ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them. I think it's just awful. Again, on many levels, I think it makes men. I feel like they need these medications, which some may not. But these are actually in the commercial I've seen, they're actually younger women, which again, it just made me feel icky when I saw their commercials. So Hims, I'm not a fan of your commercials overall. And so it looks like these GLP-1 medications may no longer be able to be manufactured by compounding pharmacies. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be able to get these drugs for less money, because if you've tried them, you know they're about $1,000 or $1,200 a month. It looks like Big Pharma is now offering what looks to be direct to consumer medications like for GLP-1. So for example, I see that GLP-1 meds are in the actor. So for instance, Eli Lilly began selling a month's supply of Zepbound between $350 to $500 a month, and that's without insurance. Novo Nordisk, which makes Wegovy, which I believe is what we call Ozempic here in the United States, they're selling it directly to people for about $500 a month. So the price is coming down. I don't think companies like Hims and Hers and others out there are going to be too happy about that, but it looks like Big Pharma is jumping on this direct-to-consumer bandwagon. So that's, again, I think something that you should be familiar with if you're taking these medications and you're wondering what's going to happen. Are they going to go away because you're saving money? Maybe not. I would say reach out to Big Pharma. They may have a program already in place for you. Also, be aware that if you are going to compounding pharmacies, compounding pharmacies are supposed to be regulated, which is a good thing, but maybe the medications they're making may not be the best in some cases. In this article, I did notice that they'd said that there was about 600 reports of adverse effects that were linked to compounded GLP-1 medications. So be aware of that. There may be better compounding pharmacies out there than others. So if you're going to use one, you really want to investigate it. I also, since I originally want to talk about supplements here, I also want to throw out to you that there are many supplement companies out there that are talking about natural GLP-1 supplements and compounds. I have seen some people on social media talking about GLP-1 teas, and the tea that I normally see when it comes to this is Herbamate tea. Now, I've looked into Herbamate as a potential natural GLP-1 alternative. The research I find on that is essentially mouse studies. I don't see any human people research on that. So the influencers are talking about Herbamate tea being a natural weight loss aid like GLP-1, I would say is inflated, and it's what's a nice word to say? Premature. I would say it's premature at this point. I think tea is a great thing to be using. It's full of phytonutrients, and if it fills you up, it may actually help people lose a little bit of weight because tea doesn't have any calories unless you're putting a bunch of sugar in it. With respect to Herbamate, though, a little controversy that I don't hear the influencers talking about, and that is there are reports out there linking Herbamate tea to some forms of cancer. I don't think one cup of Herbamate tea is going to do it, but long-term use may be a problem. And now, what's causing that? I think is up in the air right now. Is it that people are drinking hot Herbamate tea, and the hotness of the liquid is doing damage on the esophagus and allowing compounds in the tea to cause throat cancer or stomach cancer, for instance? I think it's open to speculation at this point. So be aware of that if you're going to try Herbamate tea. So again, I personally don't think there's anything special about Herbamate tea. But again, if you're curious, I would say run that past your doctor and pharmacist if you want more information. Next thing I want to call your attention to is a change in the labeling for testosterone replacement therapy. And I know what you're thinking, this is a drug, not a supplement. I'm gonna go into the supplement in a second, but this is actually kind of big if you're getting TRT replacement therapy. So as of February 28th, the labels on the testosterone drugs are actually going to change. So this also comes from Medscape, was published, it's called Physicians Welcome Testosterone Labeling Changes. So they point out that one of the products noticed, let me take a step back. For one, products, testosterone replacement therapy products, must note that they can increase blood pressure. There is some research that testosterone replacement therapy may slightly increase blood pressure. Studies involving ambulatory blood pressure monitoring confirmed an increase in blood pressure with the use of all testosterone products. So it does look like testosterone replacement therapy across the board can increase blood pressure. How much? I think it varies from person to person. From what I've seen, it wasn't a lot, but if you have hypertension, I definitely think it's something to talk to a physician about. But the other big warning here, and I think this is a little odd, is that the warnings about the adverse risk of cardiovascular disease from testosterone replacement therapy, that's going away. So if you use this medication for testosterone replacement therapy, you may have noticed these black box warnings that they have. So the heart disease thing is going away, that warning. And they point out the reason is they're pointing people to this study called the Traverse trial, which came out, I think, about a year or two ago, which found it showed similar rates of cardiovascular events, including heart attack and stroke, in people who used testosterone replacement therapy or a placebo over a 2-year period. Translation: it does not appear that testosterone replacement therapy increases the risk of heart attack any more than a placebo does. So the warning about heart attacks and cardiovascular disease is actually going away. That said, high blood pressure can also be a risk of stroke and cerebral vascular effects. So name your poison here. Again, I would run that past your doctor to get a better idea of whether that's right for you. Now, that's the drug. There are a lot of testosterone supplements out there. So obviously, this is not the same thing as what you'll see with a drug, but there are many supplements out there. Just go to your health food store or your online, etc. You'll find all these things out there. There's a bunch of them. Just a few of them, for instance. Let me pull this up. I've got this here. Tribulus terrestis. So Tribulus terrestis has been in testosterone supplements for as long as I can remember. It actually goes back to even the medieval ages where it has spikes on it. The herb has spikes, and the rumor has it that during like the middle 1200s and stuff, they would throw it on the ground, and the horses would get the spikes in their hooves, and it would maybe protect the castle from getting stormed by the invading army. Essentially, Tribulus was kind of like road spikes that police will use these days. That said, it has been used for testosterone replacement therapy for a long time, and I just don't see any research on it at all. There is research on Tribulus terrestris, but the research itself shows it's pretty much a dud. It has been studied in people who lift weights, etc. And I just don't see any evidence that it's going to help people lose weight. So, or excuse me, raise their testosterone. I'm so focused on weight loss. People ask me this question so much. But yeah, so that's Tribulus terrestris. The other one, which is very popular for raising testosterone, is called ZEMA, Z-M-A. That's zinc and magnesium aspartate. You could buy it by itself, or I also see it as a proprietary blend in testosterone supplements. There is one study that, if I remember correctly, where it did raise testosterone in people, but it was a company-sponsored clinical trial, and I've never seen it replicated by anyone else. And so I'm skeptical of ZEMA's ability to raise testosterone. So again, if it works for you, I think it's great. I would say do your testosterone before and after, a month later, and see if it works. And then the other one that I see a lot these days is D-aspartic acid, which is a type of amino acid which sometimes finds its way into proprietary formulas. And again, you can buy it on your own. When I looked at the research on D-aspartic acid, the D stands for dud. I see no human evidence that D-aspartic acid raises testosterone. Now, that said, I would be kind of careful with the dietary supplements that are promoted to raise testosterone. This is one of the more shadier areas of the dietary supplement world that I have seen over the years. There's been a lot of recalls on dietary supplements for a number of reasons, but bodybuilding type supplements have had several recalls. I've seen them over the years where they'll issue a press release, so-and-so is issuing a voluntary recall of their supplement because a compound was found in it and it wasn't listed on the label. And sometimes those compounds are hormones and prohormones. And you can't have a hormone in a dietary supplement. That's against the regulation. And so that's why I would be a little, skeptical of anything that works really well. I'd be cautious of. Same thing with anybody who's got a dietary supplement that's kind of a natural answer to those little blue pills and it works really fast. Sometimes those things also have recalls because they have little blue pills in them or molecules that look like those little blue pills. So be a little cautious of that as well. Now, collagen is also on everybody's radar these days for a number of reasons. And there's research on collagen. Collagen is actually the most plentiful protein in the human body. It's in your tendons, your ligaments, your hair, your skin, your nails. That's why you see it so much in hair and skin and nail supplements. When it comes to collagen supplements, it does appear that collagen, at least some of it, can bypass the digestive system and get into the bloodstream. I've seen those clinical trials. So it does appear to do that, and that's encouraging, but will it actually get into your muscles and your ligaments and tendons? And I'm not quite sure about that. The research is kind of sketchy at this point. But there is some data on collagen supplements erasing fine lines and wrinkles. And I've got a video on my YouTube channel about that where I showed you the before and after pictures, and you can see those results for yourself. And I could see a difference in women who took collagen supplements after several months. Will it be dramatic? I think it depends on the depth of the wrinkle. So very, very wrinkled people may notice less of an effect of people who only have some fine lines and wrinkles. But that research is out there, and so there may be something to that. I would say, however, that one of the things that is really not on a lot of people's radar, and it's only recently come to mind, a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but some have reported feeling depression and symptoms of depression when they take collagen supplements. Quite frankly, I was skeptical of this at first. But enough people have brought this to my attention that it makes me wonder if there might be something to this. The mechanism behind it, what's going on biochemically, I think is anybody's guess. But several people have told me that they feel depression symptoms when they use a collagen supplement, and when they get off of the supplement, the depression appears to go away. So something to think about if you're going to try a collagen supplement, whether it's a pill, a powder, a drink, whatever. If you start feeling a little blue, a little blah, maybe it's not you. Get off of it for, a few days or a week and see if you start feeling better. Enough people have brought this to my attention that I think maybe there might be something to this, although I cannot find a mechanism when I look in the clinical trials. I don't see any way in which this could happen, although those people are out there who talk to me about this. So again, collagen, interesting. However, I would point out that collagen does not build muscle as well as, say, whey protein or anything like that. It doesn't appear to do that. As a matter of fact, there was a study recently that came out on collagen supplements. Here they took, these were guys who were what they called recreationally active. I mean, they worked out, but they weren't bodybuilders or athletes. They were in their about 40, 47, 50 years of age, and they gave them 30 grams of hydrolyzed collagen for 3 months. And 30 grams, by the way, seems like a lot. That's about an ounce. So rule of thumb, if you're interpreting a supplement facts label and they say, oh, it has this many grams of this many grams of that, just remember the rule of thumb, 28 grams is 1 ounce. So in this study, they gave people about 1 ounce of collagen protein for 3 months, and they had them do a lower body strength training program, and there was no improvement in muscle strength versus people who just did a placebo and did strength training for 3 months. And that adds to the growing body of evidence to suggest that collagen supplements do not build muscle as well as whey protein or casein protein or even soy protein. I know soy gets a bad rap sometimes, but soy also has some research that it appears to have some beneficial effects in the body. So what is this? Holly says, if you had an IQ of 140 in 5 years of taking it, you'd have at least 210 level. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, Holly. I have no idea. Maybe I've not seen any research on IQ and collagen. So maybe, but you've just given me something to maybe think about. So I'm going to write this down right now. Collagen and IQ scores. I'll take a look at it and see what I can find. As for muscle building, if you're taking it for muscle building, it doesn't appear to be effective because collagen is not a complete protein. It's missing some amino acid. I think it's missing mostly methionine, if I remember correctly. Whereas whey protein, et cetera, is more of a complete protein. So it has all those essential amino acids. Not collagen. It's for the brain. I'm going to write it down. I'm not sure. Is it all in script? Is that a Holly? Is that a supplement or is that a medication you're talking about? All ALLEN. Oh, alpha GABA allows collagen to activate in the bloodstream. I'll take a look at it. Alpha GABA. So it sounds like it's some sort of a neurotransmitter. So GABA. Gamma is gamma aminobutyric acid. It's a neurotransmitter. And so could GABA activate collagen in the bloodstream? Again, I'm writing it down. Alpha, PHA, GABA, GABA, and collagen, AGEN, and activate, ACTIVE. I'm going to take a look at it. I'm not quite sure. Alpha, well, let's take a look at it right now. Alpha, ALPHA, GABA, alpha, GABA, 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 collagen, blood, man. The effects of GABA on the expression of type 1 collagen gene in normal human dermal fibroblasts, those are skin cells, So, what is it saying here? These results suggest that GABA improves skin elasticity by regulating type 1 collagen expression. So, does appear that there's something on that to helping the collagen work better. In terms of what you'd said earlier about IQ, I don't see anything on that as of yet. And I just did a quickie little search online where I just searched for alpha GABA collagen, and I also typed in PubMed, PubMed, because that'll take you right to studies in the National Library of Medicine. Because if you don't do that, you'll find yourself the websites, and sometimes the websites are selling the supplements, and they can have good information. But I prefer to go to the source myself and find those clinical trials and read them for myself. That's kind of what I do on my YouTube channel, where I screenshot a lot of that research and I show it to you, so you know that I'm not making that stuff up myself. So I don't see anything in terms of IQ, but there does appear to be something in terms of this and collagen. So yeah, and it wouldn't be surprised if they combine the collagen with the GABA to maybe get a better response. So there might be something to that. That does make sense. So again, the only thing I would say with collagen is if you start feeling a little off kilter, then maybe there's something going on. But again, I can't figure out what's going on with the depression and collagen. Next thing I wanted to throw out to you is a question that I get asked an awful lot. And usually when I do a video on this, it gets a lot of hits. So I know it's really popular, and that's NMN. And I don't know if anybody's heard of it before, but NMN is, hey, ATM, what's going on? NMN is nicotinamide adenine mononucleotide, and it's a supplement that is being highly touted on the internet to improve NAD. And NAD is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. It's a supplement that is touted to slow down the aging process. So there is research on NMN supplements, and I know some researchers at some Ivy League universities are promoting this. I've done an awful lot of videos on NMN. I've looked at the human research, and here's what I got to say about it. The majority of research on NMN supplements is on animals and in a petri dish. There are human studies, no doubt, but I continue to see animal research studies on NMN, and I see them, and I would say to myself, the time for animal studies is over. You got to do better human clinical trials. And there are human clinical trials out there, but when I look at those studies, and you can look at my videos on this, I look at the results, I'm like, I just don't see anything really jumping out at me in terms of whether NMN is going to improve your quality of life or make you bigger, stronger, faster. It doesn't seem to, or anything like that. People do continue to tell me things. They sleep better, have more vivid dreams, their blood pressure goes down, all kinds of stuff. When I look at that research that's done in a lab under controlled situations, I just don't see anything impressive when it comes to NMN supplements. Let's see, we spoke months ago, just wanted to update you on my Repatha nightmare, 4 months. Oh, yeah. So Repatha. So for people who are not familiar, Repatha is essentially a cholesterol medication. It's an injectable drug. It lowers LDL a lot. I did some videos on Repatha a few years ago after someone I knew who took it experienced horrific muscle pain that went on for several months after he stopped taking it. And I continue to hear from people who tell me they have muscle pains after taking Repatha. Yeah, I do think it's rare, but those people are out there, and I don't think that's being addressed very much. I don't see muscle pain being talked about in TV commercials for Repatha either. So you 4.5 months, the pain is 95% gone. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And that's about the time it took for the person that I knew to really start seeing improvements. Repatha, I forget the actual half-life of Repatha, but it stays in the body for a pretty long period of time. So depending on how many shots of Repatha you've taken, then there may be something to it staying in the body a long time. And if you did have muscle pains, they could be prolonged even though you're not taking Repatha anymore. I know I've heard from I remember one doctor, I think he was down in Florida, he told me he thought he was going to have to retire. He could no longer stand anymore. So these people are out there, and my heart goes out to people when this happens. And I want to be frank, Repatha, these medications are powerful. They do work. They will lower LDL cholesterol, sometimes down into the single digits. I know the person that I knew that was taking Repatha, his LDL went down into, I want to say, the high 20s. And I remember him telling me this. I'm like, your LDL is lower than mine, which is impressive, low 20s. So they're very powerful. What does the really low, very powerful effect on lowering LDL have on other effects in the body? And I don't know. I'm not a cardiologist. I just know the people that I've known who've taken this, and they've told me some side effects. Again, I do think it's rare, but those people are out there, and I feel for them because I don't hear anybody else really talking about it. But back on the NMN, so again, there is some research to suggest that as we get older, we make less of this molecule called NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. It's a molecule that we need to make energy from. It's used in our mitochondria. And if we make less of it, then perhaps if we can replenish it with things like NMN, then maybe we'll slow down the aging process. Maybe we'll grow younger and all kinds of stuff. The research, again, is pretty not so impressive. And I know that people online talk about this. I see people on TikTok and YouTube talking about the benefits of it. I'm like, what research are you looking at? I'm looking at the human research. I'm literally doing this, and I don't see anything impressive. As a matter of fact, some studies say it'll do X. Other studies will show it doesn't do X. And so the research is all over the place, which also makes me wonder, what's the quality of that research? I do wonder about that. I do read these studies, and sometimes things red flag to me, and I'm like, what about that? So I'm just not impressed with the NMN research. Again, also, I would point out that there are counterfeit versions of NMN out there. A lot of these supplements actually come from China, and they may not be as well regulated. Some are, some aren't. But are you actually getting NMN? That's another thing to ask people about, and I'm just not quite sure. But I would say investigate things. I also say that there's another NAD supplement out there called nicotinamide riboside. And that was, if I remember correctly, that was the original NAD booster. Nicotinamide riboside is a form of niacin. It came out about 10, 15 years ago. And it also will raise NAD. There are companies that make it as well. And originally it was patented by one company called Chromadex. If I was going to use an NAD supplement, that would be the one that I would try, and that's nicotinamide riboside, only because if I was getting it from that company, then I was pretty sure they had good quality control. So you could try that. That said, I'm a little skeptical of some of their research as well with nicotinamide riboside. In fact, I normally don't try supplements. People always say to me, why didn't you try it yourself? And because I don't try it myself, because gee whiz, I investigate so many supplements, you don't know if what I'm seeing is a supplement interaction or not. But I did try nicotinamide riboside several years ago. I took it for a month, and I didn't notice a difference. No more energy, no more better workouts, no more better anything. So I'm pretty healthy. And so is it because of that? I don't know, but you can take that for what it is, my own personal testimonial. And I did use the version I was just talking about. It's called True Niagen, which is very popular. And I think it's a very well-made supplement. I personally just didn't notice a difference when I tried it. ATM, we spoke months ago. We talked about that. Holly, I love Bacopa moneri, yes, longevity, cognitive enhancement, and basically nootropic helps with ADHD. So Holly, yeah, Bacopa moneri is a very intriguing memory enhancing supplement. There is research on this and humans. And if I remember correctly, some of it even involves people who have what they call mild cognitive impairment, mild memory problems, where it appears to help them. And that's why when I look at a memory supplement, 9 times out of 10, I see Bacopa in that. And I always think that that's probably one of the key ingredients. Another one that I see in memory supplements a lot is called Huperzine A, and I forget where that comes from. It is found in nature. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember it right now. But it also has some research that it can improve memory in people with mild cognitive impairment. And also if I remember correctly, Huperzine, however, just be aware, it may cause a decrease in blood pressure or an increase in blood pressure. I'd have to go back in my notes and look. But both of those have some research. I think it would depend on how bad the memory problems are. None of these products have any have ever been shown to reverse Alzheimer's, for instance. But people who, maybe they forget where they put their car keys and stuff like that, there does appear to be something to that. So yeah, Bakaba is, I think there's definitely something to that. I haven't seen anything with ADHD, but you just gave me an idea, ACOPA and ADHD. I'm writing this down now, and I'm going to see if I can find some research on it. And if I can, I will do a YouTube video on this. I think that's, I'm curious about this now. Let's see, I went all carnivore, off all meds, perfect blood work. Well, I'm glad to hear your blood work is good, because normally when I hear carnivore, I suspect maybe bad cholesterol, LDL, would go up. But if you're telling me your blood work is great, that's wonderful. Did you lose weight? I'm curious when you went on carnivore, because carnivore is going to cause some weight loss. And mostly because you're eating a lot of meat and you're dipping into your glycogen levels. Your glycogen is your stored carbohydrates in your muscle and your liver, and you store a lot of water with glycogen. The rule of thumb, every 1 gram of glycogen has about 2 to 3 grams of water associated with it. So as you burn off glycogen, you burn off water, and that's what's responsible for that weight loss. And I wonder, I bring that up because weight loss can also normalize body weight and cholesterol levels and testosterone levels, et cetera. But regardless, if you're having good results with the carnivore diet, I think it's great, as long as your blood tests are terrific. I think that's a good thing. It works long term, but when I'm off it, you got to go back to normal. Yeah, and I think there's the issue with a lot of these diets, like keto and carnivore. Eventually, you want a baked potato, and again, keto is the most extreme of them. When I hear people talk about keto, they all say the same thing for me. I got to go back on keto because I gained weight, which says to me that it's kind of hard to maintain, like I say, a ketogenic diet. Carnivore may be different. I've never done either one of them myself, but it is definitely, they work. They will work for weight loss. There's no doubt about it. Both of them will. Yeah, Huperzine A complex. And when you see a complex, Holly, one of the things I think about is it part of a proprietary blend? I just did a YouTube video recently on how to shop for supplements in a smart way, and I covered proprietary blends. When I see complex, it makes me wonder if it's a blend. Sometimes companies will create these proprietary blends, and they'll include something like Huperzine and other things, and with Bakaba and maybe B vitamins, etc. The only issue with, if it is a blend we're talking about, the only issue with it is where in the blend is Huperzine or Bakaba listed, because when you're interpreting a proprietary blend, the stuff at the top of the blend makes up most of the blend, and the stuff at the bottom makes up the least. So I would say take a look at it if it is a blend. But Huperzine by itself has been tested. I don't think I actually have done a video specifically on Huperzine, but I really should. Because it's an intriguing compound. It really is, and there is research on it. So I really, again, you're giving me another good idea for a video. ZINE, Huperzine A. All right, I wrote that down. It's great to feel smart, sharp, and without brain fog, fully optimistic, interesting, and to take on any task at once. But when you go back to normal, once once you're on it, you go back to your normal self. It's intriguing. There are things that will cross the blood-brain barrier, and they will have some beneficial effects in the body. And if you're having good results with Huperzine, I think that's terrific. Yeah, I would also agree, ATM, giving up sugar. You got to have sugar, obviously, but too much can cause a spike in insulin, make us feel tired, and causes, obviously, useless calories. All those added sugars, they do increase free radical production in the body, because they combine with fats and proteins, and they increase these things called advanced glycation end products, which again just essentially means they increase what's called oxidative stress, or as I like to still call it, free radical damage. I'm a kid of the 70s and 80s. We called it free radical damage. These days they call it oxidative stress. But I would agree, less added sugars the better. We do eat too many added sugars in the United States, and that's why added sugars are now added to the nutrition facts label, which I think is a good step in the right direction. Rule of thumb, since we're talking about that, if you look at the nutrition facts labels or even supplement facts labels of the things in your house right now, if you see 5% or less, it means it's low in that nutrient. And if you see 20% or more, it means it's high in that nutrient. So if you can remember those two things, you can analyze pretty much anything on a supplement facts label or a nutrition facts label. So you go to the gym and to talk about this stuff, and everyone would be so lost. They do take protein powders. I think protein powders are fine. I use it myself, so I like to start my day off with a big smoothie, and people roll their eyes when I tell them what I put in my smoothies: lima beans, broccoli, and things like that. But I use a pretty good tasting chocolate protein powder because if it tastes like chocolate, I can drink anything. As a matter of fact, the other day I forgot to put it in it, and I almost I almost spit it out when I first drank it. So I had to pour it back in the Vitamix and blend it up again with the protein powder. So I don't have a problem with protein powder. Yeah, most people do get more protein than they need, especially those who are already lifting weights and working out. But generally, I don't see a problem with it if you're generally healthy. I think it's perfectly fine. And again, I use it myself. It's one of the things that helps me do that smoothie every day. And I even put it in oatmeal. Some days I'm just lazy and I'm like, what am I going to have for dinner? And I make chocolate oatmeal and I throw extra stuff in the oatmeal as well, and it tastes pretty good. So see which supplements actually slow a large magnitude of effect. I'm broke and not here to spend money, for a 2% absolute improvement. Yeah, Sean. So if you're here for the very first time, I want you to know I do not work for any supplement company. I do not work for any pharmaceutical company. I do not work for the government. I only recently started saying government because somebody on TikTok accused me of being a Fed. So I want you to save money. I'm at heart what you might call a consumer advocate. I read the research so you don't have to. And so here's what I would say: food first, supplements second. If you want to get the biggest return on your investment, food first, supplement second. And when I say food, I mean fruits and veggies, beans and seeds, in deference to the carnivore diet. For instance, here in the United States, we eat a lot of protein, but there is a nutrient that most of us are not getting enough of, and that's fiber. Most Americans do not even eat 1 ounce of fiber a day, and that's the minimum requirement, an ounce a day. And I bring it up, and I know some people are like, oh, you don't need fiber. I have started seeing, and it must be the YouTube algorithm or the TikTok algorithm. I have started seeing people showing up on social media where they're saying, I was just diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, and these are young people. And wow, what do you say when you get that? Colon cancer is scary, and it doesn't have to happen for most people. Move more, exercise more, but also eat a better diet: more fruits, more veggies, more beans, more seeds, more fiber, more phytonutrients. If the food has, is green, yellow, purple, whatever, it's got a lot of these natural anti-defense or plant defense mechanisms, which many of them are antioxidants, and they protect us when we eat those. So I would say that, number one. And again, when you say you want to get the most money, Sean, what are you looking to do? If it's basically staying healthy, I would say eat a more colorful diet, and I would also suggest an inexpensive multivitamin. I don't think you have to spend a lot of money on a multivitamin to get the benefits of it. Anything that's giving you 100% of the RDA for most things is perfectly fine. I'll even take a multivitamin and I'll throw it in my blender with my smoothie because I don't like swallowing capsules or pills, to be honest with you. So I'll throw them in the blender and grind it up and do that. And some people even say to me, if you eat well, you don't need a multivitamin. You know what? It isn't going to hurt you. And there is even some research on an inexpensive multivitamin helping people have better memory as they get older. There is some research on that. Centrum was actually the vitamin company, I think, that sponsored that research. Take that for what it is. But I would say, take a look at that, Sean, first. You're going to get the most return on your investment. If you want to add a protein powder, an inexpensive protein powder is fine. Again, I think I personally like a combination of whey and casein protein myself. And that's because that's basically milk. Whey protein is a quick digesting protein. It gets in your body really quickly. Casein's a slow digesting protein. It takes a little bit of time, but they tend to work better together. And so I personally like that. Also, whey protein isolate, which is really popular. When I put that in the blender, it makes a big foamy head of the smoothies, and I personally don't like that. But if you add casein to it, there's no foam in that smoothie. So again, it's a personal preference. I used to be a diabetic. Okay, so Sean, so now things get a little more complicated here. I used to be a diabetic, genetically kind of high cholesterol, ate super healthy diet. Should I therefore ditch the psyllium, ALA, garlic, berberine, and bergamot? Okay, so Sean, you used to be a diabetic, so obviously we're talking about type 2 diabetes. And again, I'm not a doctor. My master's degree is in exercise science. My undergrad is in chemistry and biology. So since you said you used to be a diabetic, my guess is we're talking about type 2 diabetes, which if you catch it in time can indeed go away. I often sometimes tell the story of a guy I know who beat diabetes from a wheelchair. He was a quadriplegic, and once he lost 50 pounds, he got off all his meds, off his diabetes meds. So yeah, there you go, Sean. So lost 40 pounds. Your A1C is normal for 3 years. That's phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. You've definitely have kicked diabetes butt. That's cool. So what you're saying you're taking, psyllium. I think psyllium is fine. It's a fiber. Are you using a specific brand of psyllium? I know Metamucil is the one that comes to mind all the time, but psyllium is okay. What else? Alpha linoleic acid. So there is some research on that and blood sugar, and even if I remember correctly, diabetic neuropathy. But it sounds like if you're not diabetic anymore, you may not even need the ALA. Garlic, bergamot, berberine. Berberine and bergamot both have some research on them that they can lower cholesterol levels and blood sugar levels as well. Berberine is usually the all-star here. It lowers cholesterol and blood sugar. And that's another one that gets one of these natural GLP-1 monikers sometimes as well. It's not GLP-1, but it may actually help people lose a little bit of weight as well. There is some data on berberine and weight loss. Not a gigantic amount of weight loss. We're looking at about 1 to 2 pounds a month or something like that, if the research is to be believed. Bergamot also has some research on it as well. And if I remember correctly, that those studies have used about 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams of bergamot, citrus bergamot a day, and garlic. So if you've lost your 40 pounds and I'm wondering, do you need to keep taking the bergamot and the berberine? Maybe not. You've lost 40 pounds. It would be interesting to see what happened if you stopped and since I'm bringing this up, since you said you're on a budget here, if you stopped your bergamot and berberine and then you did a blood sugar test a month later to see what happened, as long as you're eating well and you're exercising, my guess is your blood sugar, blood cholesterol levels may not go up, and your A1C will take about 3 months to go up. A1C is the long-term marker for blood sugar. Garlic. It also is a good thing. I like a garlic supplement myself, and instead of garlic, I actually use a product called aged garlic extract. And again, I crack open a capsule and throw it in the blender because I don't like swallowing the capsules. But what you're taking doesn't look bad to me. It looks actually efficacious for type 2 diabetes. I'm just wondering, do you still need the bergamot and the berberine since you're technically not a diabetic anymore? I don't know. Maybe you slowly wean yourself off of one of these. Maybe you cut out the bergamot first, and maybe you cut out the berberine a month later or so, and do your blood sugar and A1C maybe after a few months and see what has changed. That alone will save you some money. Let's see, they blend all these ingredients. Holly says they blend all these ingredients together into one specific. So if you're looking to make a powerful protein blend for bigger muscles, you may need to take lots of research on HCL products. Oh, is HCL the brand? I hadn't heard about HCL, Holly. So let's see here. What else here? Any thoughts on taking rapamycin? I'm 37 and considering it. Jeff, don't think so. Rapamycin is, again, it comes from, if I remember correctly, it was a compound found in fungus over at Easter Island. That island, it has the big statues on the beaches, and it inhibits it inhibits a gene called TOR, T-O-R. It's called the mammalian target of rapamycin. And if you can inhibit TOR, cell growth increases and muscles have cells. So in theory, it may help your muscles grow and may actually have an effect on blood sugar levels. I don't necessarily think it's going to hurt you, but I don't necessarily think you need it at 37 either. I'm going to look into rapamycin, P-A-M-Y-S-I-N. I'm going to look into it, maybe do a research video on it and see if I see any human research on it. I'm not sure if there is or isn't. The only thing that pops up when I think about inhibiting mTOR, and is that, well, if you're increasing cell growth, you're increasing maybe all cells, and that could also potentially increase cancer cell growth. I'm not quite sure about rapamycin and the growth of cancer, so I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It's something that it's always in the back of my mind. If you have a history of cancer, I'd say run that past your doctor and pharmacist. And I usually bring up pharmacists because you don't need an appointment. You can walk into a Walgreens and talk to a pharmacist about this. But I'm on the fence with rapamycin at this point. So Jeff, I'm not quite sure about that, but I am going to look into it. The influencers keep talking about supplements, but rarely explain the actual degree of benefit. Yeah, Sean, I know everybody wants to get famous these days. On social media, and they're talking about the supplements many times because they're getting commissions for sales. If you look at TikTok in particular, is very good at selling things. They've got this TikTok shop, and you don't even have to go off the site. You can get it right from TikTok, which is very impressive. But there are people making a lot of money selling supplements online. I mean, when I say a lot, I mean, buy a new car, maybe buy a new house, that kind of money, because I've seen some of the commissions people can make for just selling one bottle of these things. So that's why they talk about it. But when you see the influencers talking about supplements, you got to ask yourself, what's their background? Can they interpret actual human research and understand it? Can they? If they're as I often say, as they're talking to you with their shirt off, they're probably telling you where they're putting their emphasis, and that's in the gym. So again, if they're not giving you any research to back it up, and human research, that's my litmus test, then I kind of swipe left on those people. Brazil nuts and cholesterol and triglycerides, check. Brazil nuts, when I first think about Brazil nuts, I think about hypothyroidism, because a couple Brazil nuts a day will increase your selenomethionine levels. And selenomethionine is needed for thyroid health. So yeah, you don't need to take a lot of Brazil nuts. And I think they taste good myself. Not everybody thinks that way, but they're phytonutrients in nuts. I got no problem with nuts myself. I like personally, I like walnuts and flax seeds, and I'll put them in smoothies and even in oatmeal and stuff like that as well. And pumpkin seeds. I like pumpkin seeds in my smoothies as well. So Sean, the aged garlic extract is what you're using as well. I like the aged garlic extract because, and I'm not paid by them, by the way. I wish they would, but pay me, but they don't. But there's human clinical research on kyolic aged garlic extract, showing that it can help lower cholesterol levels, and a bunch of other things. So I'm intrigued by the research. The company also has been around since the 1970s. So I like that longevity. Not all supplement companies have that type of longevity. I just investigated a company recently that when I investigated them, I found out the company actually, well, at least the website of the company went up like 2 months ago. No, 2 weeks ago. So it's too easy to make a website these days. But if you know where to look, you can sometimes do a little bit of back searching and find out about these things. But that's a company, Kyolic. It's been around again since I think 1976 or something like that. So I like that. So hydrochloride extraction, HCl. I'd have to look into that. Rhonda Patrick does this. Oh, okay. So good for Rhonda Patrick. I sometimes see her videos popping up on my feed as well. So, kudos to her for keeping up with that research. So yeah, and it is a supplement that I like. It's actually one of the things I normally don't endorse a lot of things, but I do on my videos put at the bottom what I take, and the things that I like. And that's actually one of the few things, supplements that I do mention myself. Chia seeds, soaked as pudding via chia grounded for cholesterol. Yeah, chia seeds are fine. I personally like flax seeds better. The soaking of the chia seeds is definitely something to pay attention to. I've heard people who are using chia seeds and they're just mixing it in water and drinking it immediately, and it's gelling up really quickly. And I've even heard of some people who've had to go to the hospital and have doctors remove it from their esophagus. So yeah, if you're going to use chia seeds, you put them in the water, let them expand first before you start, drinking it, and then, drink it a little bit at a time. But I think chia seeds are fine. I personally like flax seeds, but chia seeds are fine as well. And because they do contain soluble fiber, there is research that it can reduce cholesterol levels. So yeah, absolutely. I have no problem with chia or flax seeds or walnuts or any of that stuff. So yeah, I sometimes get a bad rap by people. They think I'm anti-supplement, but I'm not. I do take some supplements myself. Not as many. I know people. Gee whiz, I often tell the story about a woman who came into my office one time many years ago, and I did a consult with her, and she brought literally a trash can into my office, a hefty trash bag full of supplements. And it took, I don't know, maybe 2.5 hours of just going through all of them. And we brought over the trash can. I'm like, keep, toss, keep, toss. And I forget, she was taking like 85 different things. And I think I got her down to like 5 different supplements. So, when it comes to supplements, less is more. Because another thing about when you take a lot of supplements is that we don't always know how all these supplements interact with each other. It's kind of like with medications. There is a condition out there with pharmacy world called polypharmacy. It's literally called polypharmacy, many drugs. We don't know the interaction of all these medications, and they may do things. Like, for instance, a buddy of mine many years ago, they thought his mom was suffering from dementia. And she had to get checked into a mental hospital, even got electroshock therapy. And it wasn't until they were like, you're taking a whole bunch of medications. And once they started weaning her off the medications, lo and behold, she started getting better. Now, that's an extreme case. That's not going to happen with supplements. I don't think. I've never heard of anything like that. But I think less is better when it comes to supplements, because we don't know how they all interact with each other, unfortunately, and I don't know if we ever will know if they all interact with each other. Magnesium malate have advantages over other forms. So Sean, great question. So I see the people on the internet, YouTube, TikTok, etc., talking about the different forms of magnesium. Here's my take on it. Magnesium is magnesium. When I hear people talking about the benefits of it, how can this single mineral have such diverse effects in the body if we're not going to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is what it's bonded to? Companies will combine magnesium with other things like malic acid, glycine, etc., to increase its absorption into the body. Because magnesium will get absorbed. They often say, oh, magnesium oxide is the worst absorbed. Yeah, but there's research on it and it will be absorbed. But magnesium glycinate will be even better absorbed. But it is impossible for me to figure out how magnesium can do one thing in one form and another thing in another form if we're only going to talk about magnesium and not the other stuff that it's bonded to. So magnesium malate, don't recall seeing any research on it. You tell me, what are they saying for it? And I'll think of, and I'll look for research on it. I do remember looking at the research on magnesium and depression. And what I noticed about those reports, and they're reports, they're not clinical trials, is that many of these trials were using magnesium and taurine, magnesium tartarate combined, so combined magnesium and taurine together. And those reports were intriguing. I remember one of the reports, the psychiatrist was saying life-saving benefits, IQ scores increasing, no longer needing, cigarettes and alcohol and drugs anymore. And, and these were reports. They weren't actually clinical trials, but they were intriguing to me. And so if people were saying to me, what do you think about magnesium? And we're talking depression, I would say maybe try magnesium and a taurine combination. But maybe some of that effect is due to the taurine, maybe not always just the magnesium. So I think people give a simple answer to a complicated question. And again, the influencers, again, and even some doctors, I hear them talking about magnesium forms. I'm like, but magnesium is magnesium. You can't have these diametrically opposed effects by the same thing. I mean, unless we're going to consider the absorption, maybe there could be something with absorption, but they're all binding magnesium to things to increase absorption. So I don't know. I think it's complicated. We are complicated creatures, and nutrition is complicated. So I think magnesium is fine. I do think most people don't get enough magnesium. I will say that. I think some people are walking around with subclinical magnesium deficiency, but that's not necessarily mean because they're deficient in a magnesium supplement. I just think, at least here in the United States, we don't eat the foods that have magnesium. And so, as I was at a little health fair recently, and I was saying to this person that, if the food is green or the food has magnesium, or excuse me, the food has fiber, it has magnesium. If the food is green or has fiber, it has magnesium. We don't eat those foods in this country. If it comes in a box or it has a wrapper around it, or you got to go through a drive-through to get it, it doesn't have hardly any magnesium. And I think that could be playing some havoc with our biochemistry, which could result in different things happening. Because magnesium, as I'm sure you've heard, it takes part in like 350 different biochemical reactions in the human body. So it is an important nutrient. I would say, let's look at the food first, and if we need a magnesium supplement, we'll take that. And if you were going to try magnesium, start with less in the beginning, because sometimes they'll give you like a whole lot of magnesium, but the big side effect with it is you run to the bathroom if you take too much, because it doesn't make you go number two. So that is something to keep in the back of your mind. Tested a lot of supplements, found many interactions with supplements not able to handle when taken together. Some only work together. Yeah, it's one of those things where there's very little supplement research in terms of how they interact with each other. So that's why I'm always going to be cautious when it comes to that, and start with one, then add another, if you think you need to. That way, if there isn't a problem, you can kind of pinpoint where that problem is coming from. What's the difference with taurine? Worth the money? I've got some videos on taurine on my YouTube channel. I think if you just go, type in Joe Cannon taurine, it'll pop up. There's some research that it may help memory. There is also some research that it may be an anti-aging nutrient, and that research is out there as well. And I do have a video on taurine and the aging process. Let me think about this for a second. So it's a non-essential amino acid. So it's not we do make taurine. Could a little bit extra taurine have an effect on the aging process? Maybe. I don't think the research is there yet. I don't really think it's going to hurt anybody, especially if you're taking it in small amounts. But I can't totally remember what I found with the aging, but there was talk of it being an anti-aging vitamin or an anti-aging nutrient. I would say see my video for that research, because I did look at the actual study on it, and I forget what it actually said. But I haven't heard anything recently about it, which again makes me think that it may not be all that to write home about. But there is some research on it, but nothing as of yet. What's it? Magnesium face lotion before going to bed probably works. It can't hurt, Holly. Magnesium, maybe. I didn't know they put it in face creams, but wouldn't surprise me. So whether it penetrates, I guess it might penetrate the skin, because there is some data on Epsom salts and where they look at, you get an Epsom salt bath and they measure your magnesium level. And so blood levels of magnesium do tend to go up a little bit after a Epsom salt bath. So perhaps the same thing may happen there. Can I just eat a handful of pumpkin seeds? Yeah, Sean, absolutely. Pumpkin seeds do contain magnesium as well. That's another reason why I throw them in smoothies too. And as an added benefit, and I'm skeptical of the research, but it is out there. There is some research on pumpkin seed oil and pumpkin seeds and hair growth. I personally have not noticed any benefits, but those studies are out there. And I believe some of them have some before and after pictures. Again, I got a video on that too. You can see, you can go look for pumpkin seeds and hair and my name, and it'll pop up. But they are a good source of magnesium. So I would say I got no problem with that. Again, if you want to try magnesium supplement, Sean, can't hurt. Again, if you're starting with lower levels and slowly increase to maybe, I don't know, 300-400 milligrams, I don't see a problem. I've used it in the past for what it's worth, and I didn't feel any different. No improvement in IQ scores, didn't sleep any better, no better workouts, etc. But I did try some magnesium. I think I used magnesium bisglycinate for a couple of months, but didn't notice a difference. So these days I'm just using a little bit of pumpkin seeds. I've got a tiny little scoop, not even a protein powder scoop, but it's like 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seeds in this scoop, and I just throw it in a blender. And I just use that. And if I make, if I have a salad, I'll throw it in a salad as well. So, bro, tell me to get rid of. So I would simply say, as I said before, Sean, I don't think you need the right now, since you've already beaten type 2 diabetes, the bergamot, and maybe even the berberine. I don't necessarily think you need those things. If you're working out and your weight's maintaining it, I think you can get rid of those pretty much immediately. So I've studied how we need magnesium because of the mental illness. It slowly causes deficiency. Good to know. Yeah, Holly, we are deficient, I think, subclinically in magnesium, so there could be something to it. Speaking of glycinate, yeah, it's basically glycine that they bond chemically to magnesium to increase absorption, and because it's an organic amino acid, it will do that. It will increase the absorption. Glycine also has a reputation as being anti-aging. There is some glycine, we don't think about it too much, but glycine is necessary for the production of a compound called glutathione. Okay, so glutathione is an antioxidant nutrient. It's a compound we make, and there's some research on glycine raising glutathione levels. Normally, we think about glutathione, we think about N-acetylcysteine, NAC. That also will raise glutathione levels. But there is also some intriguing research on the combination of NAC and glycine together, where they give it to older people and they appear to get stronger. And it's called Glynac, G-L-Y-N-A-C. Again, I get a video on that too, a couple videos on that. If you look for Glynac in my name, you can see that research for yourself. But again, those two supplements are pretty inexpensive. Glycine, pretty inexpensive these days. It flies under the radar of most people. Let's see here. Found better sleep with virgin cod liver oil supplement. I've never investigated cod liver oil, to be honest with you. It's a good source of vitamin A, that's for sure. Definitely. Can I get rid of ALA? ALA, if we're talking about alpha linoleic acid, which is used for blood sugar and maybe helping diabetic retinopathy. If you're telling me your type 2 diabetes is under control, your blood sugar is good, your A1C is good, you're not having any diabetic retinopathy, then do you need it? If you're exercising, you're eating well, your weight is stabilized, I don't see it hurting anybody, but it is something. Yeah, it makes my pee smell like asparagus. Yeah, ALA can do that, and I forget the mechanism behind it. But it can do that, as can asparagus, make your pee smell bad too. Each corner of the health internet is obsessed with different supplements. Yeah, I know they are, Sean. And again, it comes back to, capitalism. Sometimes they sell these things. I don't. I've been investigating these things for over 30 years. and I'm not selling them. Again, they reach out to me sometimes, say, "Oh, do you want to sell this?" No, I don't want to. I think you deserve to see the research for yourself. Now, if the research is good, I have no problem with saying, "Hey, kyolic aged garlic extract is a good supplement. I like it, and I actually use it." They're not paying me to say that, but a lot of times people are making commissions when they sell supplements, or maybe they have supplement companies and they'll hire influencers. Nobody's paying me to do that research and talk about supplements. And it's funny, when I first started writing about supplements, when I first created my website was, gee whiz, 15 or so years ago. And I used to get supplements in the mail because companies started sending me things. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But once I think they started realizing that I wasn't kind of toting the party line, I was telling you both sides of the story, the good and the not so good. If the not so good was out there, nobody sends me supplements anymore. Which is unfortunate. I wish they'd send me some protein powder because I would use it, but it doesn't happen anymore, unfortunately. But even the guys who don't sell the supplements can get caught with some specific supplement. Yeah, and again, it could be they like and they do believe in it, and that's fine. I think testimonials are a great jumping off point for research. I think they are. A lot of, I think saying things that, oh, this happened to me, that happened to me. And if it gets people interested enough, they actually do the research. I think that's great. Relying only on testimonials isn't enough for me. I eventually want to start seeing human studies. For instance, it's not a supplement, but it's been around for a long time, and it's regarded as an anti-aging compound. It's called carbon 60. Carbon 60 is, or C60, is, you can buy it on all over the internet, and there is some research in mice showing that it doubled the lifespan of mice. Doubled it. Very impressive. And because of that, people are taking, teaspoons or tablespoons of this stuff on a regular basis, hoping to double the human lifespan. That would be an impossible study to do. It would take a lifetime to do that kind of research. But to this date, I don't see any human research on carbon 60 for anything. Does it lower blood sugar? Does it lower blood pressure? Does it help you sleep better? Does it help you run faster? Whatever. Sometimes some of this stuff a kid in high school could do that kind of research, and I don't see any of that. And so based on that, carbon 60 is something I'm like, the testimonials are intriguing. I'll even hear from people saying, "Oh, it returned my hair color to normal." That also would be very easy to see, but I can't endorse that, or because I just don't see any human proof on it as of yet. But it's been around a long time, a very long time. It's well past the time to see human research. So testimonials alone won't really get me to think that there's something to it. I got to see the research. Slim guy from Europe, yeah. I've never heard of this slim guy from Europe. Idolizes glycine. I'll have to look him up. The slim guy from Europe. I don't know who he is. If you have his name, I'll write it down. I mean, I do see some of their videos, but I look at it, and some people who review supplements on YouTube are very good. They do similar things to what I do. They look at that research and they'll show you that research, etc. A lot of them just don't. They'll sit there and they'll talk to the camera, and they'll throw up some what they call B-roll, and they'll make, to keep your attention and stuff like that. And those people I sometimes worry about. Not worry, but I wonder about them. Quantity, how many years? I've never been trying a single supplement again because I'm sure quantity. Yeah, you could definitely save a lot of money by thinking less is more and putting the emphasis on eating better. I think that's a great way of looking at it. Slimland. I'll have to look at that. Slimland. Slimland. I think that's definitely something to think about. I'll write it down and take a look at what he's saying. But yeah, glycine, it is a, let's see, GAG AC pasta. It is and I said GAG AC pasta because that's the acronym that I remember, the non-essential amino acids. Glycine is the G in that acronym. So we make glycine, but maybe we're not making as much as we get older, or maybe something to it is in terms of as we get older. So Yeah, and it doesn't taste bad either, which is another thing. Glycine tastes kind of sweet. So I would have no problem with most people, except for diabetes. I do wonder, I have to look at that, whether glycine raises blood sugar or not. I don't think it does, but I want to look at that. Nutrition Made Simple is my favorite nutrition channel. I've heard of the Nutrition Made Simple. He doesn't do much about supplements. Yeah, I've heard of that one. Collagen or glycine, between the two. What are we talking about? Collagen or glycine for what? I mean, my if I had to just pick just without across the board, I would probably say glycine, but I have a for bad knees, not glycine. I'm not aware of any research on glycine and osteoarthritis. If that is what's causing your bad knees, osteoarthritis. I would try collagen before glycine for osteoarthritis. There's enough people out there who do say to me, I took collagen and my joints feel better. There is some research on it, and I think the results would probably vary, but that research is indeed there. So, and sleep, perhaps glycine, perhaps glycine for sleep, perhaps glycine. Again, I'm thinking about one of the voices in the back of my head that are saying glycine for sleep. What's up with NGF and BDNF? By the way, I've been taking with lion's mane. So lion's mane also has some research on memory. Again, I got a video on that. I would say check that out. BDNF is brain-derived neurotropic factor. That's a compound that makes brain cells. And NGF, not sure what that is. But BDNF is, and maybe lion's mane might increase BDNF. The thoughts on maybe if lion's mane increases BDNF, is that going to increase the connections between brain cells, and could that in turn help improve your memory? Maybe. An increase in BDNF doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have an improved memory or not. I would say one great way to improve memory is exercise. And also helping depression. The research on depression and exercise is very impressive. And also exercise will also increase BDNF. And again, I'm not sure about NGF because I haven't seen that. But lion's mane, yeah, it's definitely it's a mushroom, and there is some research on lion's mane and memory. What about what is it? Triphala. I've never heard of it. Triphala. I don't know what that is. I wrote it down, Sean, and I will take a close look at it for a future video if I see any research on it. Yeah, we've been talking for over an hour. Holy mackerel! I honestly didn't think I'd be talking this long. What's the deal with MK7? It's a form of vitamin K. MK7 is a form of vitamin K. So there are several types of vitamin K. There's vitamin K1 that you get from green vegetables, and vitamin K2. And there's a bunch of different types, I think 10 different types of vitamin K2. MK7 is one of the more popular ones. The average Westerner doesn't get any because natto eating. Yeah, so natto is a good source of it. Vitamin K1 can be converted into vitamin K2, just so you know. But the thought is with MK7, if I remember correctly, that it's supposed to prevent calcium from going into blood vessels and put it in the bones as opposed to the blood vessels. A little bit of research on it. Again, it's been on my radar for a while. I don't think I've done an official video on it as of yet, but it's definitely on my thoughts. Yeah, natto is a good source of that, and nattokinase as well. Nattokinase is supposed to be a natural heart and brain health supplement. I've got a video on nattokinase you might want to take a look at for more on that. But has been demonstrated robustly. I'm on the fence when it comes to MK7, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to hurt anybody. I just don't necessarily know if it's going to reduce the risk of a heart attack. So just showing that it raises MK7 levels is great, but I think the real indicator for me is give it to people, and does it result in anything meaningful, like less strokes, less heart attacks, less plaque in the blood vessels, for instance. That's one thing that I would look for, and I don't think I have seen it, any kind of research on that as of yet. Indian fruits combined. Oh, okay. It's 3 Indian fruits. Okay, 3 fruits. And now that's actually bringing something to the front of my mind that I do remember hearing about 3 fruits. and I've never looked into it, but it's definitely been something in the back of my mind. Um, yeah, in terms of, I've got my BPM to two, I've got my BPM to 250 working at holy bloody mackerel. Holly, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you? 250. Um, I don't know what to make of that. I've never seen 30. How are you monitoring your heart rate with an Apple Watch or a polar heart rate monitor? I don't think I've ever seen a heart rate in an adult human go into 250 beats a minute, the gym machine. Okay, so one thing when it comes to the gym machines, Holly, is are they accurate or not? Some of these machines, I think over time, their heart rate monitors may actually be a little defective. And I know and you could even go to the gym manager and say, hey, I know there's a code you can punch into this machine to tell me how many miles it's been used for. And they can do that for you. They may not want to, but there is a code. And I wonder if maybe that is the reason it says it's going up to 250. I mean, that I've never been up to 250. Um, so I don't know what to say about that. I have like an Apple Watch here, and I have actually gone on the machines and tested that against some stuff at the gym I go to, and it's within 1 or 2 beats, but I've never been anywhere close. Even when I was running when I was younger, I got up to 193 beats a minute, and that's when I was in my 20s and I was running a lot. But now, gee whiz, I mean, I've gotten to 165, and that's pushing it. That's really pushing it for me. But I would just double check it somehow. Thoughts on Garcinia cambogia weight loss metabolism? Sean, I wouldn't touch Garcinia cambogia with a 10-foot pole. All you got to do is go on a search engine and type in Garcinia cambogia liver failure. There have been multiple reports of people going to the hospital with liver failure after taking Garcinia cambogia supplements. Now, the problem with this is many of these reports, the people were taking multi-ingredient supplements. And so that's difficult to pin down. Is it Garcinia cambogia or not? That said, I have here in my files a report of somebody who was only taking Garcinia, one ingredient, Garcinia cambogia, and unfortunately required a liver transplant. There seems to be something with Garcinia and some people where it may be toxic to the liver. I don't think it's with everybody. Otherwise, we'd be hearing about it every single day. But there may, and I'm speculating here, there may be some people who are, for whatever reason, at a greater genetic risk of liver problems when they take Garcinia cambogia. I personally wish it would be removed from the market. Again, even one case is too much for me. So I wouldn't touch it. There is a little bit of research on Garcinia and weight loss, but Sean, it doesn't sound like you need it since you've already lost 40 pounds. But when I've looked at this on my website, Supplement Clarity, supplementclarity.com, I actually chronicled, I believe, at that time, all the human studies on Garcinia. And I found just as many studies showing it worked as different worked. It didn't not work. And the dosages were overlapping each other in some studies. That says to me, some of the studies are Garcinia are junk. I think they're junk. They're not doing what they should be doing. How is the same thing saying it works versus not working? So it's the liver thing just makes me uneasy with Garcinia cambogia, and that's why I wouldn't take it by itself or with any supplement that included it. And I've said here on YouTube in the past, I'm saddened that the dietary supplement industry does not call attention to it. I really think they really should. So yeah, Holly, I do think it's yeah, I would agree it's a sensor error. I think that's it. Most dietary supplement blend pretty potent. Yeah, they do add a lot in it, and the compound in Garcinia cambogia are using is called hydroxycitric acid. And the way it's supposed to work is preventing carbs to get converted into fat. If you can't store fat, you might lose weight, and that's the mechanism. And again, the research, I think it's iffy, but the liver thing just it scares me. So and yeah, it's popular. It was super popular there for a long time. Usually, when I'd see these scam websites that go up that look like CNN or Fox News or ABC, and it'll say, so and so celebrity lost a lot of weight, and when I do my investigating and I look through it, I'm like, oh, it's a Garcinia cambogia supplement, and it's a scam site. But I just wouldn't touch it. And I know people don't agree with me on that, but I'm always going to be conservative and talk about the side effects. And it doesn't get much scarier than liver failure and transplant. So I just would not do that. Chlorella and spirulina worth the money? I don't think so. Chlorella is a good source of not magnesium, chlorophyll. So, I mean, chlorophyll's great, but you're also getting chlorophyll when you eat green vegetables. So, spirulina is I think, an expensive form of protein. So, but it won't hurt. I don't think it's going to hurt anybody. I don't see any, I don't see anything. I think of anything really bad. Although I do remember hearing something about spirulina and liver problems. But again, I think it's very rare for spirulina. But I've tried both of them. I'll tell you, I have tried that. I don't feel any different when I try them. And again, I think I'm a pretty healthy person overall. I'm not an athlete. I think I'm a generally healthy person. You go to the gym, work out a few times a week, bike ride, whatever. But I'm not winning any strongest man or most fittest guy contest or anything like that. But I didn't notice a difference in myself. Now, could there be something going on I hadn't noticed? Sure. I didn't do any blood tests. But I did try it for a few months. Again, I had these little tablets and I just threw them in my blender, and I just didn't notice anything. I am going to have to leave because I just realized it's 10:05 here I am, and I'm actually going to the movies tonight to see The Chosen with some friends, and that's at 7 o'clock. And I said I would be there by around 5-ish. So I am going to have to go. I had a little reminder just pop up on my thing. But I really do appreciate you guys spending some time with me and giving me the opportunity to talk about supplements. This actually was my very first live thing that I did. So I want to do more of these. So I would say, if subscribe to my channel if you already haven't, and if you have any questions you want me to address, even drop me a little message in my videos, etc., or email me. Say, hey, in your next video, talk about X, Y, and Z, and I'll work that in. Because I actually had some other things to talk about today, which I didn't get to because you guys started asking questions. But yeah, if you want me to talk about anything else in the future, I'd like to do one of these maybe once a week or something like that, because I think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, so I would say thanks for hanging out with me all week. I'm going to go to the movies and go see The Chosen. Now I'm all caught up with the TV series. Now I know what's happening. I knew it was happening anyway. As I told my friends last year, I said, I've read the book, so I kind of know what's coming, what's happening, but the characters, I wasn't sure about the characters. So anyway, yeah, I appreciate you hanging out with me, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you back here really soon, gang. Take care. Yeah, appreciate it, Holly. Take care.